We have 1 week left until DerbyCon 2018. It's Breakdown Security. I'm Brian. Mr. Betcher, Miss Berlin.
Hello.
Yay.
It's awesome.
I'm so excited.
1 week to Christmas time.
I know.
And actually, if you are going for training, you are leaving probably, Monday to come to go down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Tyler Hudak, amongst others, are going to be giving out training that week. It's awesome. So... Yeah, we've got a lot going on at DerbyCon. Like I said, it's like our Super Bowl. It's like, Christmas and, all birthdays and everything just all wrapped up into one. So,
yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, Miss Berlin's like, one-legged man in the ass-kicking contest over here. She's, busy as all hell.
Yeah, I'm heading down Wednesday. I have one hotel on the other side of the river, like in Indiana, Wednesday night, and then I'm moving to the Marriott. No, sorry, to the Hyatt.
Why?
So I don't have my kids Wednesday and Thursday.
Oh.
No, Tuesday and Wednesday already. Mm-hmm. So I figured I'll just go down a day earlier.
Okay. All right.
Than what I had originally planned.
Right.
Just to see people.
Well, that's good. And then you can set up. Do you have toadies that are going to help you set up?
Yeah, I have a lot of people that have offered to set up, and I hope some of them show up.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to call them toadies, but
my biggest worry right now is if everything's going to actually fit in my rental.
Oh.
My living room and my front porch currently look like an Amazon distribution center.
Would you rent a Nissan Leaf or something?
No, I got an SUV, but do I have a lot of boxes.
Oh, really? Well, I heard the Nissan Leafs are like the TARDIS, man. They're really, really large on the inside.
Really?
Yeah.
You have to strap stuff to the top.
That's probably going to happen, You might want to try packing things in and then saying, oh, crap, I need a U-Haul trailer on the back of it.
I hope not.
Invest in bungee cords.
Bungee cords.
I have straps and stuff that I could probably use, but I really don't want to have to do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you've got all the mental health stuff for the workshop there, and then
I have all the break sex stuff.
And
I need to bring clothes.
What?
So there's that.
That's true. Yeah, you can't just walk around with two shirts on, So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, do I have a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'll be able to take some of that home. I'm going to bring an extra couple bags, maybe check a bag or two.
We should be able to get rid of, I'd imagine, most of the shirts.
True. That's true.
The stickers don't take up much room. I did bag all of our special giveaway stuff the other day. I had a little assembly line going on my kitchen table, my dining room table.
Right. The brownies with oregano in them is going to be big sellers. Right. Big sellers. Right. We got a lot. So Mr. Betcher and Mr. Goff through the Breaking Down Incident Response podcast and LogMD are going to do a vendor table, and I'm going to be babysitting it somewhat and being a booth person. I can't call it booth babes anymore. I'm going to be a booth person, answering questions.
Yeah, everybody will know where to find you. We'll be on the second floor. Near the bathrooms, I guess, so we'll get a lot of traffic that way.
Oh, those bathrooms are nice.
Also, they're very nice.
They're very nice bathrooms.
And it's kind of like near the way to the Hyatt.
Oh, by the tunnel there. Okay.
The tunnel, yes.
Right. I've taken
Perfect
that before.
placement.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I love that because we've talked how awesome the bathrooms are. I that's one reason you're moving to the Marriott, so that's cool. Do you know where the location of the mental health room is?
It is in Bluegrass 1 and 2.
Okay.
Which I don't know where it is.
Oh.
I just know that's the name of the room.
Okay.
They gave us 1,600 square feet.
Nice. That's almost as big as my house.
Yeah, half of the room is going to be set up like classroom style for the talks.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other half of the room will be the massages. And have you ever seen those? It's like a lounger kind of, it's like a big tube of air. Like you open it up and you whoosh it through the air and then close it. And then it's like this air-filled seat that you can sit on.
Huh. Okay.
So I got a bunch of those and I hope they work because I feel like that could just be like a cool, like you lounge and do things in there.
Nice.
We should have room for those and tables of other things that we're doing.
Do you have the Eventbrite link for the BreakSec pizza party? Oh, I dropped a secret.
Oh, that's the other thing we're doing.
Yep. So the where the mental health workshop is, so Bluegrass 1 and 2 is also where the BreakSec people are going to be having our pizza party, and you can RSVP to Eventbrite. I warn you, there's already 50 people coming, so I have already signed up because we told everybody on our Slack ahead of time. So if you're interested in joining that,
and when we say we told everybody in the Slack, we told everybody.
She heard people on Slack.
No, what did I do? At channel or at everyone?
Oh, I think you at channeled, which we don't normally allow that, but
that's breaking.
Yeah,
we broke protocol.
It's a very powerful feeling to do an at channel to like 2,000 people.
Yeah, that's not
because
good.
It warns you. There are like we have 1,400, 1,500 in there or something.
Yeah, you're going to notify 1,500 people in 48 time zones or whatever.
20 time zones. Are you really sure that you want to do this? Oh, yeah, I am.
Heck yeah.
I wish it gave people that warning in Outlook whenever somebody sends a company-wide email.
Oh, that would be awesome. You're about to send this to 4,000 people. Do you want to do that?
That is a really good idea.
Yeah.
I will put the meetup link in the show notes as well.
So we're going to have pizza. I don't know if we're going to do it at the same place we did last year. We may just try to find like a Domino's or a Papa John's or a Little Caesars or something.
I don't know, man. That pizza was really good last year.
I know, but I got so nervous waiting for them to show up, and it's going to be even bigger than it was last year, and I'm really worried about them being able to deliver on time. And
have you called them yet?
No.
I mean, they can bring on an extra employee or two just for that.
I don't know.
I mean, that chicken and waffle was pretty good.
It was.
I know it was. Shit.
I would say let's give them a phone call and say.
And for the people that keep on asking, if you would like to add money in for buying pizza, that is fantastic.
Tips are
you can
accepted.
Either sign up to be a Patreon or bring $10 or whatever.
Yeah,
I guess either way
that would be great.
It's not required, but it would help us not have to pay out of Brian's pocket.
What? I melted the card last year. It came out of my own pocket. I didn't have like real money. So yeah. Anyway,
I'll be chipping in too. So
cool. So
anybody else wants to help, that'd be great.
Yep. And so we're going to be doing a lot at DerbyCon. We're going to have the table. You can come by and talk to us about, logging applications with LogMD, or just shoot the shit with us about, there's our explicit tag, about the podcast. We're going to probably at the pizza party do a BreakSec only podcast in addition to our, annual podcast with podcasters. So it's going to be a lot of recording.
Wait, we're going to have a live audience?
We have 50 people, and as long as we lock the doors, if we block all the exits, then we'll have a captive audience. So that'll be nice.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. It's like
I'll ask Carl for the key.
It's Hotel California of podcasts. You can come in, but you can't leave.
Right.
So yeah,
but you can eat.
Yeah, you can eat, but you can't leave. Yeah. So we do actually have stuff to talk about.
Do we?
Yeah. Really? I mean, other than my Model 3 I got. Thank you, Patreon. No, I'm just kidding. Patreon people didn't pay for the
Damn.
There's people out there going,
I feel gypped.
People out there, man, that's not cool. That's not cool, man. No, I'm just kidding. I paid for that out of my own pocket as well. Got my Model 3 today. It's so sweet. So awesome. Anyway, so we do have some, this isn't a news story. I found this on Twitter and I followed this gentleman. He goes by the handle of, I'll have to, was it Nikita Krisnap? Great. Nikita Tonsky. That's what. Yeah, something like that. Let me get it up. It's Nikki Tonsky. So Nikitonski. Nikki Tonsky. Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Lives in Russia. Novosibirsk. That's close. Novosibirsk.
I don't know enough to correct you. So, all right.
Yeah. full stack software engineer, but he blogged about this thing, and it was very interesting because he was talking about something that I've always wondered about myself, and it's software. He calls it software disenchantment. That's what it's not, disenfranchisement. He says he's been programming for 15 years, and he said recently our industry's lack of care for efficiency, simplicity, and excellence started getting to him, and I have to kind of agree with that because I've noticed that. I don't know if it's because of the Apple ecosystem or whatever, but I use Android, but it seems like every operating system gets larger and larger, and it really doesn't add any additional functionality, in my opinion.
I could say the operating systems do, but maybe the applications themselves don't.
Right. And Nikita, which is what he calls himself on the blog post, says that Windows 95 can be ran in a browser with 30 megs of space, and the Android keyboard app is 150 megs, which means a simple keyboard app on a phone is 5 times as large as an entire operating system, albeit a fairly dated operating system, but it's still yeah, exactly.
Like functionality-wise, that's ridiculous.
Right, and he said, okay, the Windows 95 OS was 30 megs, Windows 10 is 4 gigs. Now, if you pull out bare functionality, there's not really much difference in, what they do. Why does it take 4 gigs of, to run an OS versus what took 30 megs back in the day? So
it's all drivers.
Is it drivers?
No.
Oh, okay. Mr. Betcher, what do you think? Because you're a filthy developer now. Well, I apologize to all the developers out there. I really
feel this guy's pain because, right. I mean, that's the reason I know C so well. I learned C a long time ago, I guess, in college. And then we had to, I guess the whole school was transitioning into Java.
Right.
I just hated Java because it was so slow. And there was this whole web thing that I wasn't sure about. And you had garbage collection, which means you didn't really have to, clean up after yourself. So you could just be a slob,
right?
As a programmer. That's what it kind of meant to me. Like, you don't even need to clean up the memory that you use. You just rely on another piece of the whole Java environment to do that for you. And it seemed really inefficient to me. And they kept saying, well, the garbage collector is going to run whenever, so your program could slow down while the garbage collector is running and all that. And I just said, screw Java. And I stuck with C the whole time. And I'm glad I did because LogMD is written in C and the size of it does a lot of stuff and it's 2 meg. So, and it's a standalone. It doesn't rely on any external libraries and things. So it pulls all those libraries in as part of the 2 meg, including all the Windows things that it uses. So, yeah, when you have a keyboard app that's that big, it's just ridiculous. And I have no idea why it's that big. Okay. So maybe you're pulling in so much code that you don't even use. It would seem like you would use 1% of that code.
Right.
That was
9% is there just in case.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't really code much. I have 3 things on my GitHub. That's as much as I've ever done. But one of the first things that I was taught, and I've never taken actual programming classes or anything either, is to never pull in full libraries and just pull in the functions and stuff that you actually need. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does that contribute to a lot of size?
Right.
When you pull stuff in like that?
I think in C, it only pulls in the things that you use. So you can import a library, but once the program compiles, it only takes in those libraries that you need. Now, Windows uses dynamic libraries, so you don't have to pull those in, they're dynamic. But if you want a static program, you have to pull them in, but it only pulls in the ones that you could use, right? That branch into those functions.
Okay.
Right. And I don't know much about, say, JavaScript or anything to know if or any of these other languages like Python to know what it pulls in.
Right.
But I'm thinking that Docker was built specifically for the requirements that some obscure Python apps take, and nobody can compile some of these Python apps because they have all these benign external libraries that nobody can find. And you're like, well, I installed Python. What else do I need to do? Well, you need these libraries from GitHub or wherever, and you need to install them to get this program to work. Just put it in a Docker image, and then I don't have to worry about it, right? So it's very confusing for new programmers, or especially old programmers like me, to be able to have to try and figure this out, right? And then you throw up your hand, screw it, I'm writing it in C.
Yep. Well, he calls that out. He's like, what's worse is that, nobody has time to figure out and stop and figure out what happened. He's like, you can just buy your way out of it. If it takes you 70 Amazon instances to run your distributed application and, it's actually going to take a 71, okay, great. You can just buy your way out of that. Add more resources. You're going to just, continue adding new things. There's no reason to go back and refactor. You're just going to continue adding more things. He says, this is not engineering. It's just lazy programming. Engineering is understanding performance structure, limits of what you build deeply, writing poor written stuff with more, combining poorly written stuff with more poorly written stuff goes strictly against that. And he says that we're stuck with it. He doesn't have a lot of positives in this blog post. He says it's just going to continue getting worse and worse and worse and more bloated and more bloated.
It's definitely a good rant.
Oh yeah. I mean, and he's definitely
there's no bad points.
No, it's all true. And this comes from a security background too. Cause we've talked on the show about, library dependencies and library hell and, supply chain security when you're dealing with things like CMSs, but it also deals with software libraries. When I was actually teaching the CISP, boot camp up here for the ISSA group, or not ICE. Yeah, ISSA group. And we were talking about some of the dependency hell that goes on with that. And, there are certain compliance frameworks out there or certain, requirements for software development and building like FIPS, which I think is somewhat nonsense. But one of the things in FIPS is that you have to document every library that's being used when you're compiling things. And for things like OpenSSL or OpenSSH. And if you had to, document the libraries or, imports that you're doing in your code when you're building something simple like a web application, you would probably go insane if you had to document all those dependencies. Yeah. And that's not including things like when you're adding, pip or you're adding easy install or, because he's got the XKCD comic down here about all the different ways of, running package managers like npm if you're running on JavaScript or Homebrew or, all the different versions of Python you have to install because something runs on 2.6 and not 2.7, or something runs in Python 3 and then there's another one that runs Python 2.7. So, there's a number of different frameworks out there, and you get stuck in framework hell, you get stuck in library hell. So he's talking about all kinds of stuff like that. And
so in Firefox, I have a tab that's got Slack on it, right? The breaksec Slack channel.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking up 300, just that one tab, 311 megabytes.
But that's memory.
It's a texting application.
Sure.
There's Giphy, though.
Yeah. Well, I have the app. I have the Slack app.
Me too, yeah.
And it is, let me see how big the app is itself. Click on the link. There you go. Applications. Actually, just as an example, I can go through a number of things here. So Microsoft Word for Office on the Mac, 2016, 2.2 gigs. 2.2 gigs for a word processor, by the way. VMware Fusion, 830 megs. Not awful, but I mean, something that runs entire operating systems is roughly a third the size of a word processor. That kind of thing. It doesn't get any better. I mean,
well, Excel 2010.
Yeah.
People may have said that it was sort of bloated,
right?
But nobody realize that there was an entire flight simulator inside Excel. I believe it was 2010.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an Easter egg, a really famous Easter egg in Excel.
Has it been gotten rid of?
I'm sure Microsoft wasn't too happy about it when they found out.
Simulator, Windows, Office 20.
He's checking me.
No, I'm just wondering if it's in like Office 2016. List of Easter eggs in Microsoft products. Oh yeah, I'll be damned.
So, like regarding all the Chrome stuff, I mean, I've had it's called the Great Suspender. Mick Douglas actually like turned me on to it. It'll actually pause all the tabs you're not using unless you whitelist them and tell it not to.
Right.
It'll pause all the tabs you're using, because I'm a frequent offender of having 3 to 4 Chrome windows open and like 10 to 30 tabs a piece.
Right.
Which will bring my Mac to its knees, unfortunately. So yeah, having that's helped a lot. But I mean, to his point, like you probably shouldn't even need that if it was, put together correctly.
Yeah. So I mean, so he doesn't have a good method by which you can fix it. He said that everything's just a barely working pile of code added on top to barely written pile of code, keeps growing in size and complexity, diminishing any chance for a change. I mean, what do we do to fix it? Is it something where we have to go in and, we keep talking about moving security to the left, but dependency hell, is killing us, and it's going to cause us issues with libraries that aren't being updated. Having to document these things. Should we have documentation initiatives where we're, having the developers go back and actually doing proper documentation of the libraries that are being used?
I'm not sure you can fix it. I mean, because it's so easy for a programmer to say, well, I don't know what I'm going to need, but I'm just going to grab everything just in case.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't have to worry about all these dependencies. And then your compiler or whatever you're using puts everything in there.
Right.
I mean, I think one of the first things he mentions is web pages are bigger than Windows 95 was, just a web page.
Mm-hmm.
Right? and I'm tired of all these trackers and ads and things like that. When I get a pop-up that says, hey, I noticed you're using an ad blocker. Well, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, because you're trying to load 130 JavaScripts on my webpage. That's why.
Or a flash ad or something like that. Yeah.
And half of them go to terrible threat listed IP addresses that are infecting you with crap anyways.
Right. And they're daisy chained. One script may call another script, and then that calls another, and that one calls another. They just load each other, and it's this big virus, right?
Yep.
It's an STD on the web. You don't know who you're touching, right?
Yeah. So I have a question to all the InfoSec people out there that are in development environments. What do you even worry about this stuff, or is there other things that you need to worry about? Or do you have developer people that are, needing, do you wonder about software and library bloat? I mean, so, let us know. Hit us up on Twitter or, send us an email. Let us know. We'll add some feedback. Oh, yeah. I got a correction at the end I got to talk about. Anyway, so.
One of his questions is, ever wonder why your phone needs 30 to 60 seconds to boot? Why can't it boot in 1 second? There's no physical limitations to that.
Right.
Right. Computers are so fast now. I looked at the Microsoft Windows 95 system requirements, 25 megahertz. Now, that's not gigahertz. That's megahertz.
That's processor speed.
Processor speed you need. And 40 megabytes of hard drive space.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine in high school. He was running Windows 95 on like a 386 DX66 or something like that. It was just ungodly small. I mean, and we look at things like Alpine Linux these days. We're like, oh, it's so small and it's so compact and it still does everything it needs to do. That's why I don't use like GNOME or, KDE for desktops or something. It adds 1.5 gigs of space, needed to a VM, and a lot of extra overhead that I don't enjoy using. So call me old fashioned, but I don't use GNOME. I don't use any KDEs. I use XFCE, or I'll use, God forbid, the command line. Weird. Or a tiling manager like Rat Poison or something like that, because I'm old school like that. So I got something caught in my throat, but to do a full-size cough is going to, be really, really awful. So
what the mute button's for.
Well, my setup doesn't work like that. So, all right. Well, I think we've beat this to death. If you are a InfoSec person, you can, please email us or tell us why, this is never going to work, or why we're old, and when this is, why it's broken. Or if you're a developer and developers, ask them why they have to, grab every library under the sun to make sure their stuff compiles. So, so interesting little bit here. Oh, somebody's adding links from some guy named Hacker Hurricane. Anyway, so there's some living off the land here with malware. This is actually a news article, gbhackers.com. Hackers abusing Windows Management Interface command tool to deliver malware that steals email account passwords. Mr. Betcher knew and knows a little bit about what WMI does and WMIC and some of this attack. Maybe you could discuss it, Mr. Betcher.
Well, I can discuss WMI. It's one of those topics that we hear about. What's yesterday's solution or is today's problem, right?
Right.
It was used to manage systems, or that was the idea. So it could do pretty much anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
And so, of course, attackers are going to use this stuff, as they did with PowerShell, right? PowerShell was the be-all, end-all management of today, and now it's become a hacker's paradise. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The difference is that with PowerShell logging, security people can now detect whenever an attacker is using PowerShell pretty easily. With WMI, not so much the case. It's a lot quieter. So you start getting WMI attacks. Those are the slick and stealthy ones. PowerShell ones are kind of like, even the red teamers at DerbyCon 2-3 years ago, they were going, yeah, PowerShell is legit. And now, yeah, if you're using PowerShell, it's not really that great. You should not do that anymore. You should go to other things. And they're coming up, and I'm sure there will be talks at DerbyCon about the latest attacks that are not using PowerShell that are being used in the red team community. So I'm really looking forward to hearing those talks.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of research, Michael and I, with WMI, and we have podcasts on it, have a guest to talk about WMI as well, WMI attacks. I haven't dove into this particular one that they talk about in the article. It is a short article.
Yeah.
But they do use some obfuscation there.
Yeah. According to the attack, attackers are sending people a shortcut file through a URL or a link in an email or as an attachment. And it's kind of like a step-by-step thing. So they download the LNK, which is a URL. The file downloaded, downloaded from the remote server is a malicious XSL file. So XSLs are spreadsheets for XML files. They help format, if you're going to show an XML file in the browser, how different tags in the XML file are rendered in the browser. So it's like a style sheet, cascading style sheet to the nth degree. So, XML's formatted data. You can say, okay, I want, the tag, bugs or date time group to be formatted in a specific way. And the XSL tells you how to do that. So inside the XSL file is some malicious JavaScript that gets ran, when the MSHTA, application is ran in Microsoft. So that's the HTML host application. And according to MITRE, it executes HTML applications, so the HTA files, which Mr. Betcher will tell us about here in a second, are standalone applications that execute using same modules and technologies of Internet Explorer, but outside the browser. So it's like a web browser or a web page outside of the browser. So it's a browserless web page. And there's several examples of that. Fin7 uses it. Muddy Waters used this to execute its own payloads. So HTA files are nothing new to you then, Mr. Betcher.
No, we've known about these for quite some time. Microsoft has a hypertext rendering executable that it uses besides Internet Explorer and that. So it doesn't need a browser to render these types of files. The file extension SHTA you should be blocking, whether it's in your IDS or IPS. You should be blocking and alerting on that, and email, and also your file extensions. So I put a link in the show notes on that and other file extensions that should be, you should not be allowing these in your environment.
Ms. Berlin, you said that you warn your own customers to block these as well?
Oh, yeah. I have like a giant list of all the attachment types that they should block. Not only like at the firewall, but in their email filtering or whatever too. I mean, it's better if they just block all attachments and only allow the ones that they're supposed to let through or want to let through. But yeah, like HTA is up there at being pretty bad.
But I'm a customer. I want to be able to get all the files that I need because I have a legit reason for those. Is there a legit reason to have HTA files being executed on the site?
Well, if you get ransomware, typically they'll execute an HTA to show you how to, that your system's been infected with ransomware, high encryption, you can't break it, and here's what you do to pay us.
Right.
That's usually an HTA file there.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it enough to block it, or could you modify the mshta.exe to not run? Could you change it so that it, has different permissions or is not executable anymore?
Yeah. So as a stopgap, when all else fails, let's say they load the HTA from a USB drive or something, you should, this is highly recommended, deny the double click by changing the file extensions on all your systems.
Okay.
Right? And by doing that, you can change the file extension default to open it up in Notepad or something benign. So if someone double clicks an HTA file that they got in an email or something, then, well, let's say you are blocking it in your email gateway. Well, what if somebody opens up Gmail or some other app? Yep. Right? They get the file somehow, then they want to double click it. Well, if you do change the file association, you denied them the execution of that HTA.
I see. Okay.
And part of the training that I did through the podcast actually walks through how to change file associations using group policy.
Okay. So you can push this out to your entire organization instead of having to, walk anybody through on how to change file associations.
Yeah, and like with the benefit of group policy is you can do it based on groups of users or computers or whatever. So if you do have somebody that for some reason works with HTA files, they can open them, but the rest of everybody else can't.
Right. So those are for like HTA files would be like help files, right? Does Microsoft Help use HTA files? I don't know. I'm just asking the question. If you guys don't know either, we can always, punt.
Yeah, no idea.
Okay. Anyway,
it's more commonly used for malware, I'm sure, nowadays.
Yeah, I've not yet in the last 3-4 years run into it being used legitimately.
But see, all the modern, Windows 10, modern operating system has to be backwards compatible.
Right.
So that's why it is bloated, the way that it is, because you can run apps that are stupid old. I mean, Windows has been talking about getting rid of WMI,
right?
But really they can't, because there are a lot of apps, modern day apps, that rely on it because they built it and it was so easy and had a lot of functionality to it. A lot of programs use WMI that you don't even know about.
Right. So for those of you out there who are screaming at the podcast, Microsoft's help files are called CHMs, which are compiled HTML help files. Another proprietary format, but you could technically send a CHM file and that would open up in a browser like help and probably, run JavaScript as well. So that's CHM files are probably something that you couldn't make open in Notepad without screwing up the help associations.
I mean, who really uses Windows Help anyways?
I raised my hand. I F1.
This is not a video podcast.
I'm sorry. Theater of the mind.
Thank God it's not a video podcast.
I F1 from time to time. I hit F1. I don't think I feel bad for the folks at Microsoft who make all these help documentation, then nobody uses it. It's like, yeah, I can understand why people don't spend time doing documentation because nobody ever reads it. So, I don't have anything else to talk about on that. So make sure you block HTA. There's probably somebody has a nice compiled list of attachments that you probably should block or have open.
A list I could probably add in the show notes.
Okay. I'm sure Mr. Hurricane has them as well. Mr. Goff has a list as well. So, Miss Berlin's is much helpful if you want that one as well. So, this is an example though of living off the land, right? Because malware attackers are using applications that are native to Windows and therefore wouldn't necessarily light off to endpoint security solutions. Oh, somebody's using mshta.exe. That's a legit, Windows binary. So we're going to let that happen. That's the living off the land example, right?
Just to say, CHM is in the list that I have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I suppose it is, but the attackers still have to get, in this example, I don't know where living off the land came from, but they still have to get their code onto the system.
Right, but somebody's going to click a link, and it's going to download that and run the MSHTA or whatever. Once they've I
think living off the land is more, okay, the attacker has creds, he's on the system. What does he do without executing a binary? What does he do without downloading a payload? Right.
Right.
That kind of living off the land. And I'm sure there are talks, because I've heard this before and
right.
Yeah, at conferences.
Okay. So you've got, oh wow, she's got a whole mess of them.
There's a lot of them.
DER, executables, FXP, FoxPro compiled source, .gadget. Nobody should be using those .gadgets. That's why they got rid of them in Windows Vista. I thought they were really great.
Nobody should be running Vista anymore.
I liked the little gadgets you could put on the desktop, but apparently they're completely ownable. So I was like, man, that sucks. Yep. They had to go and make it all mean and stuff. INF files, yeah, that makes sense. IIS communication settings .ins, yeah, that's not a good one either. JavaScript, oh yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Come on, screensaver.
Okay, so all right, so you've got KSH in there, Unix shell script. That's becoming a thing now because Windows 10 has the Linux subsystem. If you click on a link with a .ksh file in an email, that could conceivably run in the Linux subsystem, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you've added that one just recently, I would imagine?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't too long ago.
Right. Okay.
Last year or something.
Okay. Yeah, I liked the Linux subsystem on Windows, but yeah, it's definitely a new vector because everything runs. I can run apt-get in my Linux subsystem, and it's just basically Ubuntu in a container. I don't know if it's container format, but it's definitely a full-fledged thing. I can run Metasploit inside my Linux subsystem on my Windows 10 box. It's pretty awesome. So,
is that why Windows took 30 minutes to update?
Well, my Windows 10, I actually like my Windows 10 on my Surface Book. It doesn't, it's the updates, they don't take forever so much anymore. They used to take a lot longer, but anyway. I don't have anything else, and I think we've probably talked over long. Besides, I need to, start packing for DerbyCon on Thursday. I fly in on Thursday, so I'll be there at like 5:30. So if anybody wants to have dinner with me on Thursday, your treat, you can hook up and we'll go over to Gordon Biersch or something.
Yeah, I'll be down there. I think I have to set up starting at like 6 or 7
in the evening on Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because that's when training gets let out.
Okay.
So whenever training gets let out is when I'll start setting up.
Right. Well, I'll come find you and help you set up, and then we can go get some late night or something. Right on.
There you go.
All right. So before we go, I have a correction. I obviously misspoke on the Windows Event Framework podcast. So one of our Slackers, his name's Matt.
The Windows Event Forwarding? That one?
I'm sorry, Event Forwarding. Right. He said, listen to the podcast tonight. You all discussed WEF. And I think there was slight inaccuracy when discussing EVTX logs. Someone suggested they could be grepped since they're XML. Not entirely true because they're binary encoded. So you need a tool that can decode them first. Some SIMs have tools that can do this for you. Splunk, Universal Forwarders installed in Windows, WinLog, Beat, etc. And Google says there's some other tools available for a number of other tools like Python, EVTX, or PowerShell. Hopefully this hasn't been discussed. I didn't see it on Slack or Twitter. So I was like, good catch. My bad. I probably was the one who said that. So apologize to Matt. Thank you for setting me straight. I'm ignorant about WEF and I've seen them be pulled into like different log management stuff. Right.
And looked through and like queried. I'm assuming there has to be some way to also grep through it.
Right.
It could be decoded.
Once you've decoded them, I would assume they could be grepped.
Right.
Yeah. So that's cool. Thank you for our listener for caring enough to set me straight. So I appreciate that. So, so we're going to be, like I said, at DerbyCon. Please find us. We have a chat channel on our BreakSec podcast Slack, which you can DM and join us by DMing us on Twitter at BreakSec, BRAKESEC, or you can send an email to bds.podcast@gmail.com. That gets my Twitter stuff out of the way there. There's also a DerbyCon Slack. So Dave and them over at Trusted Sec set up their own Slack. So derbycon.slack.com if you want to get involved with that. It's probably going to be getting ramped up a lot sooner. They have a bot that invites people. But if you're going to DerbyCon or you just want to lurk and see what everyone's doing, derbycon.slack.com is also available. So. Ms. Berlin, you're going to be very busy next week. Please drive careful. But if people wanted to, reach out to you and ask if you need any more help or, find out the list of speakers for your mental health workshop, how would they go about doing so?
So you can go to derbycon.com/wellness and find all of our stuff there.
Nice.
I think they may have put our schedule or will be putting our schedule soon in with the rest of the schedule.
Okay.
For the speakers. Now that we don't have to share the room with the resume workshop, we moved a couple of our speakers to Friday.
Okay.
So I will pretty much just be in that room all 3 days. So you can come find me there.
Nice.
Because I probably won't leave other than to give my own talk.
Okay.
And on Twitter or our Slack at InfoSystir, INFOSYSTIR.
Nice. Okay. Mr. Betcher, you're going to be sitting with me at the table at some point during DerbyCon, along with the other developer person that I didn't realize you guys had, but, apparently you're now a group of 3 folks at IMF Security and LogMD. If people wanted to find you at DerbyCon, other than in the Slack, how would they go about finding you?
At DerbyCon, I'll be around the booth.
Okay.
And you can hit me up on Twitter at BetcherPwned. And Amanda, what's your CB handle? Maybe I can catch you on CB while you're driving.
Breaker 19. What's your 28 over?
I don't think there'll be room for a CB in the SUV. I'm picking up. I don't know if you guys have met Click before. He does stuff with Tool. He kind of lives near you, Brian.
Really? Okay.
He lives in Oregon.
Okay, so good news. I actually looked up the floor plan for the Marriott, the first and second levels. Bluegrass 1 and 2 is right by the skywalk to the convention center. I mean, it's literally you turn left and you're going over the skywalk right over to the Marriott. So we're apparently the table, as we talked before the podcast, or during the podcast, it's right next to the bathrooms in the hotel. We're probably all going to be really close to one another, next to the Rose and the Philly rooms. There's fairly easy to get into. So, come find Bluegrass 1 and 2 right next to the convention center's, the tunnel that goes between the Marriott and the Hyatt, where the DerbyCon used to be. Me and Mr. Betcher are staying at the Hyatt, so that'll be nice and a quick walk over. So, all right, cool. Yay! So we just passed 1,500 users on our Slack channel. We have roughly 450 active users, and according to our metrics, thanks to Miss Megan Roddy, about 200 unique users per day coming in to talk. So we have a lot of channels, a lot of people doing a lot of things. We just started an Asia Pacific channel. So if you are in the Asia Pacific region, which includes Australia, APAC. I started it because Joe, who's in China, not China, but in Japan, he wanted to have something.
That's great.
So if you're in the Asia Pacific region and you want to just have a channel where you can hang out when everybody else is asleep in the U.S. and talk to people who are similarly, similar region area, please come in and join us. Book club just ended, so if you are interested in joining the book club, Mr. Cybuck is taking, he has a survey in our book club channel for the next book. We just finished Practical Packet Analysis, Chris Sanders' book. Hopefully we'll get to see him. What they're doing is the next InfoSec book I want to read and discuss frequently falls into this category. So we have a number of different categories, threat hunting and IR, SIM and logging, cloud container and DevOps, pen testing, SE and OSINT. Looks like the front runner right now is SE and OSINT, which means we may, I'm hoping, do Chris Hadnagy's book. May or may not, I don't know. Once we figure out what topic we want to do it on, we'll probably break it down by books, but Dave is wanting to start that probably after Halloween, so after probably November 1st. So it meets every other week, and they try to do like a chapter every other week, which is different than the summer reading program we did. So the SIM Club. So we have a SIM meeting group. So people who deal with SIMs and logging and log analysis and threat analysis using the logs and the things. Apparently it's very active. They had 15, 20 people, I think, show up on the last one, and they set it for an hour, but everybody wanted to go for like longer, so it was almost like 2 hours for that. But a lot of folks in there, a lot of some very smart people talking about what works for them in their logs and their SIMs and log analysis systems. So if you're interested in that, again, send us a DM on BreakSack or join us at bds.podcast@gmail.com. So, thank you to our patrons. Thanks to you. We have hosting and logging of our podcast, and, we can find our metrics like this. The Slack doesn't cost us anything, but, if it did, we need about $4,000 a month to be able to handle that. So, if,
nice.
It's by active users, not all accounts. So,
we did make quite a few active when I did at channel.
That's some people definitely perked up.
Right. Slack channel.
That's right. BreakSec. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, appreciate all of our patrons and people who, put a little something in the tip jar so that, we can, do what it is we need to do to build our community and make it awesome here. So even so much as $1 is enough to help us out with hosting and the Zoom that we're using right now. As a matter of fact, costs $15 a month. I'll be completely transparent. It costs $15 a month, no matter how much we use it. So it's one of those things that if you join our Slack, you have access to a Zoom that you can use to collaborate or talk to people.
As little as $1 a month can help your local podcaster.
Yeah, that's right. Support your local podcasters. That's right. Think globally, act locally, or whatever. So, I'm done for the week. It's we've gone way over our time. So find us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio. Leave some feedback on your favorite platform and let them know you enjoy the show because it helps us get more exposure. And if you're going to DerbyCon, please travel safely, and we will see you there. So this is it for Breaking Down Security. The next show you might hear will be either us doing our private podcast, or it's not private, but our BreakSec podcast with our fans. So it might get a little noisy, a little raucous. And we'll try to do a podcast with podcasters. And then I'm going to Europe. So y'all...
Me too.
I'm out? No.
Me too.
What?
I'm going to Dash Fest in November.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm doing the mental health workshop there too.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Yeah, while I'm gone, we're going to have the fillers, the DerbyCon audio and stuff, and we're going to have some real content. I'm going to task Mr. Betcher and Miss Berlin with actually doing some of that, and seeing if we can't get a hold of some of the speakers and whatever. And I've got Miss Wendy Knox Everett on the hook for email security interview that I've got to do with her before I go to Europe. So we'll definitely have that while I'm gone, hopefully. So there's plenty of content to keep you all busy and listening. And if you see me in Europe on the Danube, put up your banners or, bring your babies out and I'll kiss them for you or whatever. I don't know. And this is it for Breaking Down Security this week. Travel safely, be nice to one another, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.